Good day. This is Dimitri Lascaris coming to you from somewhere in Greece on August 11th, 2025 for Reason to Resist. Since Israel launched its genocide nearly 2 years ago, the Freedom Flotilla Coalition has made repeated attempts to break Israel's criminal blockade of Gaza. Several of those attempts were thwarted by complicit governments, but two of the vessels sent by the coalition managed to get within a relatively short distance of the territorial waters of Gaza. The first of those vessels, the Madeleine, was seized in Israel in international waters on June 9th of this year. Madeleine's crew and passengers, who included European Member of Parliament Rima Hassan and Swedish activist Greta Thunberg, were then kidnapped by what are, in effect, Israeli pirates, forced to enter Israel against their will, and then deported after several days in detention in Israel. The second of those vessels was the Handala. Israeli pirates seized the Handala in international waters on June 26th. Again, they kidnapped the vessel's crew and passengers and forced them to enter Israel against their will. After they spent several days in prison, they were deported. Handala carried a shipment of critical humanitarian aid for Palestinians in Gaza, including baby formula, diapers, food, and medicine. All cargo was non-military, civilian, and intended for direct distribution to a population facing deliberate starvation and medical collapse under Israel's illegal blockade. One of the Handala's passengers experienced particularly violent treatment, and he's joining us here today to discuss his interactions with the Israeli kidnappers. Christian Smalls is the founder of the Amazon Labor Union, the first independent, democratic, worker-led labor union in American history for Amazon in Staten Island, New York. He's also the founder of the Congress of Essential Workers, a nationwide collective of essential workers and allies fighting for better working conditions, better wages, and, above all, a better world. Of the 21 passengers and crew members who were seized by Israel from the Handala, Christian was the only Black person. Thank you very much for joining us today, Christian.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So why don't you start by telling us, Christian, about the launch of the Handala's voyage? What was the last port from which the vessel departed before being seized in international waters?
Yeah, absolutely. We had about a 9-day journey altogether, but the first 2 days we came from Syracuse, Italy, Sicilia, and then we traveled to Gallipoli. And that's the only region in Italy that's fully divested from Israel. So it was a really good place, really good community to leave and dock from.
And you, I think you said your last point of departure was Gallipoli in Turkey. Is that correct?
Italy as well. It's
Right.
also
So last year, I was in Istanbul when the Freedom Flotilla was trying to launch 3 large vessels to go to Gaza. And they had a number of difficulties with the Turkish government. Do you know whether the Handala was encountering any difficulties from the Turkish government on this particular voyage, or were they essentially facilitating the departure of the vessel?
No, actually, the Handala we I guess you could say flown under, but sailed under the UK flag, so the British flag, which
Right.
was a little less strenuous. But also the fact that we left, it also matters what port you're leaving from. The region of Italy where we left from is fully divested from Israel, so it was easier to leave from.
Okay. And who was on the vessel with you at the time it was seized by Israel? As I mentioned, there were 21 passengers. Can you tell us a little bit about who these people were?
Yeah, one actually is the co-founder, Huwaida Araf, who's it was her 9th journey. She's been doing this since 2006. Another one, we called her the grandmother of the ship, Vigis. She's from Oslo, Norway. She was our chef. And then we also had a high profiler, actor, well-known actor, comedian, Jacob Berger, who is also a Jewish man, but definitely been pro-Palestine, been in the streets ever since October 7th. And the others were just, we had 2 members from Parliament, from the French Parliament, Emma and Gabrielle, and the rest were just humanitarian activists from different countries. Some were labor organizers, some were are just in the Palestinian movement.
And could you tell us about the seizure of the vessel itself? Where did that happen, and how did it happen exactly?
We were actually a lot further than the Madeleine. We got to less than 60 miles away from Gaza Strip. We would have made it to Gaza by 3 a.m. that Sunday morning had we not been kidnapped. So very, very close, extremely close, and also 26 miles away from Egypt, which we also had clearance to go there to dock for the night. And unfortunately, once again, we were kidnapped beforehand.
And so at the moment when the seizure happened, approximately were you surrounded by several vessels? And did you get a sense of how many military personnel were involved in the seizure?
Well, I can tell you, yeah, there was definitely several vessels. I think it was almost a dozen. I couldn't really see too far out. It was very dark, and of course, they help facilitate that the visibility being poor because I seen with my own eyes that the drones were dropping some type of smoke or flare grenades, and then yeah, there was about a dozen of them on each side of the ship that surrounded us and also on boarded. At least 4 or 5 vessels or 6 vessels was around the whole boat, Handala boat.
And when they came onto the vessel, what did they say to you all?
We basically had to keep our hands up. It was more of just they wanted to seize the boat, full control, and then they tried to do their propaganda. They came with camera crew, trying to do what they did with the Madeleine and hand out sandwiches and water. But they knew we were on a hunger strike. They announced it. They announced that we know we on the hunger strike. So it was more of just having a shelter in place and be detained.
So I take it at some point you were separated from the others. Can you tell us what in particular happened to you once the vessel got into port in Israel?
Yeah, once we got into port, we got transferred over to the immigration department and authorities. And that's when I was assaulted by the immigration authorities. They had a camera crew waiting for us at the dock. We were getting called off the boat one by one. They left the Americans for last. I was one of the last to get off. And as I was blocking my face, one of the authorities called over 7 others and they threw me to the ground. They put their knee in my back. They twisted both of my arms behind my back. And then they levitated me on each side, 3 on each side. And one was pulling my hair and pulling my jewelry to choke me. Then they took me into a separate room. They threw me up against the wall, face up, face against the wall. And they were saying some racist remarks, saying that they the furthest thing from my brother, they're not my brother at all. And the whole time they kept me separated from the rest of the crew and had me guarded with 5 guards the entire time.
And how many days in total did you spend in detention?
5 days.
And other than that particular occasion when they called over the 7 coons, did you have any other violent interactions with the prison guards or other Israeli officials?
Yeah, when we got to prison, besides the physical torture, they want to psychologically torture you as well. So they punished us for being on a hunger strike. They didn't allow us to come out and get yard time. We had no outside communication. We basically was in solitary confinement. They put 7 of us in one cell with poor oxygen. It was very hot in the room, 90 plus degrees every day. And they were weaponizing food. They knew that we were on the hunger strike. So they would come in the room and sit it in front of us. They would keep trying to offer it to us, knowing we wasn't going to take it. And then they raided us twice with the raid unit for no reason, had us stripped naked and tried to humiliate us. And once again, just lied to us every single day. They were promised that I was going home every day, knowing that I wasn't, to try to once again break me down psychologically as well.
Mm-hmm. And so how did you end up getting out? I mean, did you actually have to undergo some kind of deportation proceeding, or did they allow you to depart the jail in the country without being deported?
No, we had to go to court to see the judge, and the judgment, which we haven't even seen yet, but the judgment is like a rubber stamp for our deportation. Even though we had no intentions on going to Israel, they're trying to use that against us, saying that we entered illegally Israel. And we know that's not the case. But after that process, then you are either, if you're not already self-deported, then you have to wait until the judgment comes, and then you're deported to your country.
And these court proceedings, were they conducted in English or were they in Hebrew?
No, they were in Hebrew. They had it translated there.
Right.
And, it's an apartheid state. So the court system was literally on the jail property. It was around the corner from our jail cells. It just didn't
Right.
make any sense.
So, to your knowledge, Christian, did the U.S. government do anything to effect your liberation from this jail?
No, absolutely not. The embassy didn't show up. I only spoke to the consulate over the phone. This was already after I'd been assaulted. So he failed his job, which is to protect our safety.
Right.
And we didn't hear from anybody from the U.S. government, not even after our return. None of these politicians, anybody, hardly any said anything.
So you haven't even received any words of support from like a Democratic congressperson or a Democratic senator? Nobody?
A few, Rashida Tlaib, who we spoke with on the Handala, she's always been very vocal. And there was Rep. Summerlee from Pittsburgh. She was the first that I've seen to really put it out there and amplify my kidnapping and my assault as well. But other than that, I met plenty others. You can name them all. I met them all. They were virtually silent.
And so the Trump administration has given no indication that it's going to hold Israel accountable for the beating, for example, that you were
No,
made to, or nothing like that.
no,
Right.
I don't expect that. I mean, they invited BB into the White House just a few weeks before, so
Mhm.
they are complicit in participating in this war crimes.
Now I know that from prior voyages when people like yourself who expose themselves to these considerable risks and you undergo this mistreatment and you're liberated, oftentimes Palestinians in Gaza will do everything they can to express their appreciation. Have you had opportunities to communicate with people in Gaza? Have you or other members of the mission receive words of support from people who are undergoing starvation there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Huwaida is still there in Palestine in the West Bank right now, um, and so is Bob. So two of the crew members are still there. Um, we have a lot of communities all over the world. It's been amazing to see what I came home to. Um, and yeah, people from all over the world has reached out. Definitely people in Gaza I've been in conversation with. Also, we have some of our comrades who are doctors and nurses who worked in Gaza. So they have a lot of ties to people who are still there over there in the hospitals and in the safe zone. So, we are heavily connected by land, air, or sea. One way or another, we're going to continue to try our efforts to break the siege.
And finally, we've seen a lot of reports about, I mentioned at the outset that you've been a leader in organized labor. And we've seen a lot of Palestinian solidarity from unions around the world. So, for example, dock workers in Italy refusing to handle military cargo being transported to Israel. And there have been similar activities in Greece and really in many different countries around the world. From your perspective as an American, a labor organizer in the United States, are you satisfied with the level of support you're seeing from the leadership of organized labor for the Palestinians in Gaza, for the victims of this genocide? Or do you think they can do more and they should do more?
Oh no, I'm definitely I'm dissatisfied. I mean, they can do a lot more. They are the ones who are actively shipping arms to Israel for the last 22 months now. Every 15 hours, U.S. shipments are going to Israel. And that is facilitated by some of the largest unions in our country, the longshoremen in particular. And I've been on record calling them out. There's others, especially the AFL-CIO coalition, that's over 60 unions. They passed 0 resolutions since October 7th. And I'm just disgusted that they claim to be standing in solidarity with the working class. And they're saying that Palestinians' lives are outside the scope of labor. They're on record of saying that. So I'm going to continue to call it out and definitely try to apply pressure in any way I can.
But I imagine at the grassroots level in the United States, there's a lot more support for the Palestinians than you're seeing from the leadership of these unions. At least that's my sense. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, on the local level, there's a lot of locals who are very vocal, out protesting, doing different things. They have Labor for Palestine initiatives and everything. But once again, it's the leadership, it's the international level. These presidents that's on the international level, on the executive boards who make the decisions. And that's the problem. We have to hold these folks accountable that we have to divest from Israel, just like all these other countries.
Right. Well, I know I'm confident I speak on behalf of the audience of our program when I say, we tremendously appreciate what you did. We have the utmost admiration for all the passengers and crew of these missions. It's extraordinarily dangerous. And you've succeeded in, highlighting the depravity of this regime and the humanity of the Palestinian people in Gaza. Thank you very much, Christian.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, brother.
And this is Dimitri Lascaris coming to you from Greece on August 11, 2025.